So we're often the biggest critics of ourselves, more than anyone could even criticize or even think about criticizing us. We've already thought about it. As a soul, we come down into this world in a very pure body and we amass, right, a tremendous amount of opposition to really who we are, right? And that takes many years of coming back to knowing who we are beyond the inflictions that we receive and the expectations that we have from others and from ourselves and who we have to be and who we have to become and how we need to react and how we need to greet and exactly the words that we need to say is basically coming from a place um, which is trying to protect us, and we're trying to hold on to that. And the reason why we're talking about like how do we feel more comfortable in that essential place of self-acceptance, of accepting the contradictions that we have inside of us constantly. So, in other words, that critic is there, but then that critic is really trying to do something, right? If some of you are familiar with the internal family system idea, it's actually really in line with with a lot of what Hasidus and Kabbalah really speaks about, that we have inside of us a family. And there's the self, there's the true self, and that's the soul, the nefesh elokit, who we really are. And then beyond that, we have the critic, and we have many different types of critics. And in the internal family system, there's about seven of that, categories, which try to keep us protected from ourselves. And it's interesting that in that modality of therapy, essentially, which is really working because it has a much higher source and validity. It basically says that once we don't fight the critic back, once we kind of even love the critic in a sense, right? We make space for that and we accept. So that's when the self can start to show herself or himself more genuinely and more vulnerably in that place of opposition, basically, that is still going on. So the reason why I really wanted to speak about it today is because we're in the month of Elul right now, and we've actually crossed the mid line, like the middle of it. And we're coming from the first half of the month to the second half of the month, where the whole month is called Ani ledodi vidodi li. I am for my beloved, and my beloved is for me. Like we've got these paradoxes that are going on. There's the me, there's the I who's seeking its beloved, her beloved. And then there's the beloved who is now seeking the bride. And it's the below to above energy and above to below energy that are meeting together. It's the self I and it's the true I that are basically merging during this month, when it says that the king is in the field. And so what does it mean that the king is in the field? Last week we went into the concept of what is the field. What is a field? A field is a field of thought. It's a field of an occupation. It's a field, right? But and it could also be a field of negativity. And it's like where we find ourselves in that internal world, basically, of recognizing our field, our field of influence, our field of thought, our field of what we think that actually becomes the reality of what happens to us, because we're projecting that frequency, and so we get it back. But there's another level of field, and that's the field of Hashem, that the sadeh, that the field is the field of paradise. It says that the king is found in the field during the month of Elul, that has the analogy of the rose, specifically the 13 pedestal rose. And the analogy is that the 13 is the gematria, the numerology of echad, of one, and the numerology of ahava, and of love. Because the essence of the month of Elul is to become more like that rose who is projecting this sense of unity all around her, right? The rose, like no other flower, is like a queen, right? It's like it's the highest frequency type of a plant, really, in the world, is the rose. It's absolutely powerful, and so that rose represents a lot that the Zohar speaks about, represents the realm of malchut, of kingship. And it represents these thorns that are there. The thorns that are there are meant to actually protect her, right? And so what the rose does is that she is able to even see the thorns as being not just a protection of her beauty, but it is accentuating her royalty, of even uplifting something as coarse as thorns, that even thorns can be regal. That's what you get, right? Because when you get a rose or a bouquet of roses, they don't take away the thorns. I mean, they take the bigger ones, but it's still on there. And that's part of the beauty of the rose, that it's all there, even the thorns on it, because the 13 petals of the rose now became echad, now became one. And she was able to glimpse into a place of unity, how the good and the bad are able to merge, to be able to see that there is the part of myself that I am not accepting, the part of myself that I do not love, which all of us have, right? The deeper that we go into a place of more connection, right? We go to a higher level. So then more things come out into the surface, right? You're actually always growing. You're always going to see more of the thorns coming out. But the difference between someone who is in that state of acceptance and someone who's not yet there is the place of saying, you know what? Bring it on. Like, I'm excited to see what the next thorn is, basically, because I get to raise it up. I get to transmute it. I get to take it from the state of red, the redness of the rose, to now become Shoshanim. It's able to actually say something. Shoshan means to say, to actually express, which is what the rose really does. It expresses beauty. It expresses regalness.